Thank you so much, everyone, for being back with us. I know that you know it's challenging to make sure that you can be here for the 3 meetings. So it's really special to have this opportunity to grow together and to really bring the time to CP with the material and to make sure that this material is not just something theoretical that we study and we forget within 1 week, 1 year, or 2 years. We want to make sure that this is not just something that is out there. We want to make sure that you connect to the material. This is why last Saturday we had more of a theoretical meeting. So we talked a lot about theory, posthumanism, transhumanism, etc., etc. Now today is going to be a different type of workshop. It's going to be experiential. Now I know that some of you could not be here last week, and I know that some of you who were here last week could not be here today. So if you were not here last week, it's okay. Just make sure that if you, I will try to be super clear, keeping in mind that some of you were not here last week, but I also cannot explain a lot of the things that we were talking about last week. So let's do like this. If something is really unclear, because this workshop is about you, it's about us. So you need to have clarity. If something is unclear in what you need to be doing, use the chat. And you say, Francesca or Sepide, can you please clarify, I don't know, what is posthuman ethics? Because I'm also going to use some terminology that is philosophical, assuming that we have already kind of clarified what I mean. But again, I completely understand that some of you are not here, or some of you were here and maybe still not clear. So I want to make sure that it's not that everything needs to be clear of all the things we were talking about, but when we're going to go into exercises, and the whole workshop today is experiential, you need to know what you are going to be doing, because it's going to be about you, it's going to be about manifesting. So you need to have clarity on that. So please do not hesitate to use the chat to ask. And we're going to check the chat every couple of minutes. So we're making sure that we keep track of the needs of us as a group. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to be sharing my screen briefly. And explain a little our plan for the day. So share screen. So this is okay. So this is our second workshop. We have the first one, which was theoretical. We had the next one, which I don't know yet exactly what kind of need we're going to have as a group. So I'm going to make sure that by the end of this class, I'm going to start to really make sure that the third one is exactly what we need. Maybe it's half-half, theoretical, experiential, we'll see. So I'm going to keep next Saturday open to make sure that we can address our needs as a group. So let's go into the program for the day. So we are officially starting. I'm going to give it a gong. Peace of mind, and 5 seconds of silence. Yeah, so welcome everyone. This is our program. So we're going to have first an exercise, which is going to be staying with us for the rest of our life. It's an exercise that you can always do also on your own, which is called Manifesting Posthuman Archetypes. So I'm going to clarify a little what I mean, and it's going to be 2 parts of the exercise. The first part is for you, and the second part is for everyone. So we're going to go into that. Then that is probably going to take around 1 hour, or maybe a little less. We're going to see. Again, I'm going to be flexible with time. The second part is going to be having the artists who have been really doing great work this week. They were assigned specific assignments. As I mentioned, there is a group of artists here who's been working more actively, doing, studying assignments. And their assignments, I think, is interesting for everyone. So it's going to be about work of arts, limits, potentials. So they've been working on this week, interviewing each other. So we're going to have that presented to everyone. And then the last part, it's optional. We may not need it, but I know that you had also, some of you, again, not everyone, but some of you wanted also to do the assignments. And the assignment said, you know, a big chunk of my book, this one is the book, I think we're 40 pages. So if there is any questions that we need to address to make sure that we're always in a piece of serenity, clarity, we're also going to do that. And if anything, you know, like if we cannot complete all the tasks, we can always end whatever needs to be done on our last meeting next Saturday. Okay, so we're going to start. Before we're going to do the exercise, I'm going to explain maybe a little more what I mean by this title, which is pretty evocative, Manifesting Posthuman Archetypes. Okay. First of all, I would like to say that, and I'm going to stop sharing 1 second here, that when we are talking about existential posthumanism, and let me clarify, I know that not everyone was here last week, but so posthumanism is an academic field, not only. There are many nuances to this. There are also many nuances of the posthuman, but today we are going to stay more strictly within the posthumanist frame. So you have many different approaches. One approach that I found really important after the pandemic is more of an existential approach, in which we are here as co-creators, co-agents of the whole manifestation of existence. So in that sense, I want maybe to a little kind of an exercise of posthuman awareness to understand who we are. And to understand who we are, the only way you can do it is from the inside. I cannot tell you who you are. I can maybe try to understand who I am. Of course, we're all connected. We're also going to talk about that. I also want you to understand that what we are doing in our existence is creating archetypes. Now, let me go back to the notion of archetype, and then we're going to go to the notion of the posthuman end of manifesting. So what is an archetype? This is you know, a simple definition from Oxford Languages, from Oxford Dictionary, but an archetype, by the way, that comes out of the ancient Greek language, means a very typical example of a certain person or thing. Then also an original that has been imitated, and also a recurrent symbol or motif in literature, art, or mythology. I want to stay with the third meaning. And I want you to think of yourself as an archetype. The archetype that you are creating. Now, of course, when we're talking about archetypes in literature, art, mythology, we can think of the mother, the father, you know, these archetypes that come with a cultural background. I don't want you to dismiss all these other archetypes, although some of them, we may not need them anymore. For instance, some archetypes that are based on a sexist or racist or ethnocentric idea, we probably don't need those anymore. So that's also something that we're going to talk about it next week with the notion of ontological healing. How do you heal ontology? And what is ontology anyway? Ontology includes everything, not just society, not just us, everything, the whole package of existence. So how can you heal that? And the only way to heal that is realizing that you are that there is no separation. But of course, before we get there, we first need to start from here. So I know that probably some of you, if not many of you, are familiar with the notion of the archetype, but I want you to kind of revisit that notion. I don't want you to think of an archetype as something that has been there in culture or in history. That's happening, of course, but I don't want you to refer to those archetypes. I want you to refer to yourself as an archetype, because we are. Because the way we manifest our existence are creating ontological archetypes. Here we understand the full agency of our existential interacting, of our existential manifesting. Let me clear it one more time, and then maybe we can start slowly going to the first exercise. What I want to say is this. If you are not comfortable of taking this as a matter of fact, take it as a hypothetical thought experiment. As a thought experiment. What if you were an ontological archetype? What if by existing, you are inscribing, you are tattooing, you are affecting, you are manifesting in the whole sensitive texture of space-time? Let me repeat it one more time. Let's do it as a thought experiment, or you can take it as a matter of fact, whatever works for you. But what if you, by existing, the way you exist, everything included, must include everything. Your thoughts, your actions, social interactions, what you eat, how you talk, your interconnections with technology, everything about you, your dreams, everything, everything, everything. So what if all of that is the archetype that you are inscribing, that you are manifesting, that you are creating? Because I know that a lot of you are artists. What if artists of existence? What if that is the archetype that you are creating in the delicate, sensitive, dynamic texture of space-time? Now, because some of you are artists, what if existence is the canvas and you are creating in the canvas yourself as the work of art? Okay. Now, let me also say that I don't want you to be a judge of yourself in any way. So we are outside of a judgmental frame. We are in an observational frame. You as the witness, you are observing yourself. So you're not judging yourself. So let's say that in this exercise, let's say that you have been trying to stop eating sugar, let's say for 2 years, and you keep eating sugar and you're so disappointed, for instance. I don't want that judging mind to think of that archetype as a failed archetype. There is no failure in art. No artists can be failures because they are manifesting the only thing that they can manifest, which is their own vision. So I don't want you in any way in this exercise to start using your judging mind towards yourself. I want you, like someone who go to a museum and you're going to see the art of these incredible artists that you've been hearing about for all your life. Throughout your life, you heard about these incredible artists. You never saw their works of art. You finally go to their exhibition, and the exhibition is your life. So now you are the observer. You are in the Museum of Existence. The artist displayed is a solo exhibition, is you. You are the artist, and you are observing this work of art without a judgmental mind. Because when you go to a museum, usually you just go for the experience. Usually you don't go there to say, oh, this artist is horrible. You usually go there to learn, to take for granted that this artist is there for a reason. Like you are here for a reason. Why are you existing? It's not easy to manifest in this dimension. Think how hard it is even to be conceived and to be born. And think all the pain and hardship that go into even come into this life through a pregnancy and in delivery. I mean, it's not easy to be here. So why are you here? Like the conception of work of art is not easy to manifest art. You're artist, you know how much work and intention goes into that. So going back to our exercise, you finally are invited to go to this solo exhibition of these artists that you've been hearing about throughout all your life. You're very excited about that. And you're going to go without a judgmental mind. You're going to observe everything about this exhibition, which is your life. Everything about it without a judgmental mind, everything. Including who you were. So you can go to the past again without a judgmental mind. Just go to the past and observe like a movie. You're watching a movie. You are in the movie, so you're not, when you're watching, usually when you're watching the movie, you are in the movie. If it's a movie that it's good enough. So otherwise you maybe just stop the movie doing something else. This is a good movie. This is a really good movie. It's your life. It's what you created. It's a very good movie. Good doesn't mean that everything that is there is what you expected to be there, but it's an interesting movie. It's a touching movie. So including who you were, including who you are, including your trajectories towards the future, including who you want to be, who you want to become. So we're going to take a couple of minutes now to do this exercise, full silence, in which you just observe everything about you. After this, we are going to be sharing only what we want to share. So don't worry, whatever comes to your mind, you are not going to be asked to share what you do not want to share, what you don't feel like sharing. You are going to be fully in control of what you are going to be sharing with everyone else. So just let your mind, your body mind, your existential awareness see everything that you need to be seen without a judgmental mind as a witness. And after that, I'm going to ask you to think of this archetype that you are creating. I just show you briefly the sharing aspect, so that you maybe also, once it's what you're seeing, maybe you can also go into that a little bit. So the idea is that eventually I'm going to ask you to name your archetype. Name your archetype. You do not need to use any name that we know, any language that we know. You can create new sounds, new names, anything that you need to create. You can draw your archetype. Again, I know that some of you are very skilled with drawing, with visual capacity. So you can draw your archetype. You are going to be asked to describe your archetype. Again, only describe and only manifest what you want to share with others, honoring the fact that other people are listening to you. So make sure that also honor their vision. So make sure that it's something that it's part of a constellation of visions. But so this is just want to say that the exercise is going to be in two parts. The first one is just observing. Maybe let's go back to this because I don't want you to confuse it. Two parts. First one, 1 to 2 minutes, just observe the movie of your life, the exhibition of your art, of your life, of everything included without a judgmental mind. And then the second part, which I'm going to guide you into that. So we are not going to, let's keep it to the first part, but then I'm going to stop, get you back, give you the sound, and then we're going to go into another 2 minutes in which I'm going to ask you to try to describe this, even to yourself. You don't even need to share to everyone else, even just to yourself. How do you describe this archetype that you're creating? What sounds would describe that? Or those, you might find yourself connected to more than one archetypes. It might not be just one, it might be many. Or maybe it's a pluralistic, pluridimensional archetype. So be very, very specific, very specific. So before we go into this deep ontological, experiential, existential exercise, which is for you, just keep in mind that you don't need to share anything if you don't want to. So just keep this for you. This is a very precious moment for you. Before we do that, I'm going to take a break of 30 seconds to double check the chat and make sure that everyone is on the same page, that everyone is ready to go into themselves. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. I'm going to check the chat. If there is anything that needs to be clarified, please let me know. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Great. So it sounds everyone is on the same page. And yes, the Jamboard. Let me share the Jamboard. Although, you know what? I'm going to share the Jamboard after we do this exercise. I want you to first really see. Don't maybe get entangled in being interested in other things. I want you to really stay in yourself. So let's going to share the Jamboard after we do the first exercise. I would like to ask if there is anyone who needs some clarification before we go into the exercise. Please do so, because I don't want you to be confused. I want you to be able to just enjoy the exhibition, or not enjoy, just being in the exhibition. Let's kind of just be neutral, being in the exhibition. Some exhibitions are intense. You might just experience things that maybe are not joy, and that's fine as well. It's what is manifesting in your life, so it's what it is. So I'm going to ask you to ask anything in the chat, and I'm going to give 30 seconds to allow anyone for your needs. Yes, that's a good question about the timing, Anna. Thank you so much. because we do have a lot on our plate, it's going to be a short exercise. But I recommend you to go back maybe throughout the week and do it again and again and again. Maybe take 1 hour to do it, or maybe taking more or less, because what we are going to do is just a little bit of a taste of this, and we can only give a couple of minutes because we need to go into a path. But that is that exercise is good for you for the rest of your life. I'm going to mention it. It's actually, Michelle, it's actually in the Jamboard. This exercise, you can go back to this exercise throughout all your life, just as a checkout, as a checkup of where you're at in your life with your archetypes. So it's going to be short, but you can always go back to it. And maybe that could be a good assignment for this week to go back to the exercise, maybe 1 hour, and then go into details and maybe draw your archetypes. And that could be very interesting. So thank you so much, Anna, for this question. And I think that I'm going to give 5 more seconds to make sure that everyone is full and ready. 5 more seconds. Okay, I think that we are ready. So let me go back into sharing the screen. I would also like to say that during the exercise, you do not have to share your screen. You can close your eyes. You can lay down if you have some, you do anything you need to do. Okay, so it's for you. It's your time. Okay, so part 1. Refer to yourself as the artist of your own existence. What is the archetype, or what are the archetypes that you are actualizing in this dimension? Please include all the aspects of your existence, all your material, emotional, and social interactions, your ecological and technological interactions, who you were, who you are, who you are becoming, and so on. Everything, everything, everything. Please make sure not to judge yourself in any way. One more time. Make sure not to judge yourself in any way. You are the witness. You are at this exhibition in the Museum of Existence. You are just seeing, just experiencing the work of art of this artist who is you. You don't have to close your eyes, but if you want, you can close your eyes and see. You're going to have 3 minutes to delve into this intense, incredible work of art that is your life. I'm going to give you the gong to start. So you can stay where you are at the moment, because we're going to just add a layer here. So if you stay where you are at, I'm going to guide you to the second part of this exercise. In this second part of the exercise, I'm actually not going to ask you to share yet. It's just for you. I want you to name your archetypes, or your archetype. Start, now that you have seen this work of art, now that you have been at the exhibition of your own life, if you were to describe it to a friend, or to a colleague, or to a family member, how would you describe this work of art. You may not need words, you may need sounds, or you may need images, or you may need smells, whatever work for you. But how, if you need to describe this, if you had to describe this exhibition, how would you describe it? So please name your archetypes, or your archetype, if you saw specifically one archetype. Create names and sounds, draw that. I want you to try to kind of be able to describe it, if anything, to yourself. Again, we are going to have a moment of sharing later on, but you do not need to share this if you don't want. So it's just for you at this point. So we're going to take another 2 minutes in which, if we were, so let's say that we went to the Museum of Existenz and we went to the exhibition of our own life and we watched the whole thing. Now we're going to go back home and we were to describe what we witnessed to other people. Again, I don't want you to use in any way a judgmental tone. Again, the artist is there because he's a good artist. Otherwise, the artist would not be represented in the exhibition of Existenz. So it's not for you to say, oh, there was a terrible movie or a great movie. I'm not asking you to judge it. I'm asking you to describe it. You see the difference? To describe it. So if you were to describe this exhibition that you witnessed, how would you describe it? You can use terms, you can use sounds, you can use names, you can create new names, new sounds, new languages, you can use images, whatever works for you. Now, there are 2 ways we can go about it. I would say probably the best way is first to give you a couple of minutes to do that. Let's do that. Let's take 2 minutes for you to go through this process. You don't need to do anything on the Jamboard yet. You don't need to share anything. Just take 2 minutes of silence in which you gather your description of your witnessing the exhibition of your own life, of your own archetypes. So you're going to name them. You're going to be describing them without a judgmental tone. This is why you may need sounds. You may need new terms, whatever works for you. So we're going to take 2 minutes where you are going to come with a brief, clear description of what you have experienced at the exhibition of your own life. So I'm going to be stop sharing again. I'm going to give you the gong and I'm going to keep track of time for you, 2 minutes. Now we're going to go into the second part of the exercise. After we are done with the second part, we're going to have 10 minutes for sharing, for envisioning our exhibition at the Museum of Existenz as constellations. But as I mentioned, whatever comes to you is for you. You will only be sharing what you want to share. So just let yourself be fully in the moment to whatever comes to you, because this is for you. So don't worry about sharing later on. You will only need to share what you want to share. So this is for you. So let's go to the second part of the exercise. Now, this is a little more intentional. So we were at this exhibition in which everything manifested, which was our life. Now I want to play a game in relation to what we've been also talking and discussing last week with the Posthuman, and also go a little more into radical imaginations. So here we're going to use radical creativity. You do not need to be an artist to have radical creativity. Everyone has radical creativity. Existing requires radical creativity, and that's your life. So I want you to be fully open to your creative power. Even if you're not working in the arts, I know that a lot of you are artists here, but I know that some of you are not, and many of you are not. So that's absolutely fine. That is part of who you are anyway. All the children like to play. Children like to play. Children like to create. Everyone has been a child, and everyone is still a child. The child in the Nietzschean sense. So I would like to say here we are kind of shifting a little bit. Before was just observing everything, and here we're going to work with intentions. So just here you're free to use any radical imagination that you wish to use. So feel free here to envision exactly what you want to envision. Exactly, to the T, precisely. So let's go into this exercise. And then after we do this, we're going to have 10 minutes of sharing. You will decide what you want to share. So again, this is again just for you. Okay. So envision the posthuman existential archetypes you would like to be actualizing in your existence. Now, of course, keep in mind that the notion of existence is beyond yours, because in existence, everyone and everything is connected. So of course, keep in mind that whatever you wish to manifest is part of the whole pluralistic collecting vision. So this is not just a sketch in your book that is for you. This is existence. And existence is not owned. There is no private property. No one owns existence. In order to exist, you need to be part of existence. So no one can own it. There is no copyrights and there is no private property there. So just keep this in mind, that you are thinking of archetypes that are affecting and affecting everything else. So please feel free to embrace radical posthuman imagination. And I'm going to clarify what I mean by this. First of all, if possible, I'm not saying that you should not do that. But if possible, I want you to challenge yourself. I want you to really manifest your full creative poetic power. So if possible, do not choose any well-known archetypes or any social archetypes that are already there, but create your own. Now, you don't have to do it. Let's say that you really want, I don't know, to become a father, fine, like whatever works for you. But if possible, and this is just to challenge a little yourself, try to create new archetypes. Archetypes that no one before you thought of, and that's why you're here, because you are an artist of existence. Artists have to be original, otherwise they're not artists. So you have the creative power. So again, but you don't have to do it. Let's say that some archetypes that are already there work really well for you, you can embrace them. But I would say, like, maybe challenge yourself a little bit. Let's call it posthuman existential art. I would also like to ask you, just because here we are in the frame of the posthuman, to engage with, on some level, if you are more into posthumanism, if that's your case, engage with post-humanist ontoethics. Now, I know that we are getting now a bit philosophical here. Let me explain. These only apply to the people here who are very much into posthumanism. If you're very much into transhumanism, give me a second. I'm going to give you also possibilities. But if you're here because you're very much into posthumanism, please try to engage with post-humanist ontoethics. What does it mean? It means to envision archetypes that are aligned, that are harmonized with these three layers. First of all, post-humanistic archetypes. So archetypes that are not discriminating any type of human diversity. Also, post-anthropocentric archetypes. So archetypes that are acknowledging non-human diversity, non-human life as dignified, as respected, fully respected. And also post-dualistic archetypes. So archetypes that do not need absolute others in order to exist. So this is the challenge that I'm giving to those of you who are very much into posthumanism. I know that's not the case for everyone here, and that's absolutely fine. If you're very much into transhumanism, I'm going to challenge you to really embrace radical embodiments and imagination connected to speculative, emerging biotechnologies and sciences as something that you want to see manifested. For instance, you can think of specific ways of redesigning the human. We talked about it with, for instance, Natasha Vitamor. What kind of human archetypes would you like out of those scientific, technological developments? So be very specific with your vision. If you really believe, for instance, in radical science, in speculative, emerging biotechnologies, what are the results, the archetypes that you would like manifested to draw through those sciences and technologies? Maybe you can say a human, I want to see the archetype of a human that is not prone to cancer anymore, again, connected to what Natasha work we were talking about last week. Whatever works for you, but really envision archetypes that come out of transhumanist possibilities. And also know that some of you are into speculative posthumanism, object-oriented ontology. Please engage with those theories, with those visions, and manifest possibilities, but possibilities that you would like to see manifested. So here, I'm not going into this dystopian, utopian paradigm. Utopia is a great concept, but it also means a place that doesn't exist. We are talking about existence. We are talking about the here, the now, and we know that the here and the now can only manifest out of present possibilities. So I don't want you, in this exercise, you can do it another time or this week, but in this specific exercise, I do not want you to go into dystopian sci-fi, which is very prevalent. So I know that probably all of you are very familiar with very dystopian futures. I'm not going to ask you to do that. Hollywood does it very well to create futures that no one wants to see materializing. I want you to think of possibilities that you would say yes, radical yes, ontological yes to that. If you were the creator of existence and you saw that through, for instance, emerging biotechnologies, you would say yes. So I want a full ontological yes of you as creator. Now, once the vision is clear, ask yourself why you would like to be actualizing this specific archetype, or plural, these specific archetypes. So I want you to make sure that you understand why is that something that you would like to see, that you would like to manifest. Why is that an ontological yes? Why is that? Why? And also, if you are working more about you, so you can go here different ways. You can go more about you as the work of art, or us as a species as the work of art. We're all connected anyway. Or us as a society. I would say probably there are 4 layers here. You as an individual, us as a society, us as a species, us as a planet. They're all connected, but you can focus more on one of these if you prefer. So I want to ask also this question: how close or how far are you or are we from this vision? And again, please make sure not to judge yourself in any way. If that's your intention, is your intention. As I mentioned, we are going into sharing, but you will only share what you want to share, what you're ready to share, and you will also honoring the other people listening to you. So you will make sure that you only what is appropriate to that group, you're going to be sharing. So this is again for you, and only whatever comes out of this that you want to share with everyone will be shared. So again, stay for now with your own vision. So to clarify one more time, and then I'm going to go into 30 seconds to check the Q&A in the chat if there is anything that is not clear. because you need full clarity in order to do this exercise. So again, we are going now into the second part of this exercise of existential posthuman archetypes. And here you're going to embrace radical posthuman imagination, full agency, full intention. You're only going to really envision, be very clear with your vision, what you would like to be manifesting, and to which you would say yes. Now, I'm going to stop sharing and give you the time to ask questions just related to the exercise, not theory yet, only things that you need in order to go into the exercise. So let me just double check if everyone is ready to do so. Thank you, Margaret, for your question. That's a good point. Yeah, I should have probably added a slide on this. So Margaret is asking for areas, individual, society, species, human species. We are part of also a species, the human species. We share a lot together, and the planet. So you can think of an archetype. Keep in mind that these 4 layers obviously are completely related. But you may have an archetype that clearly is connected to all of these, or maybe an archetype that maybe suits specifically one or another part of the layers. So for instance, you can think of your own life, which of course would have an effect to everyone, but maybe it's a little more of a connection related to your own experiences, to your own backgrounds, etc., etc. Or you can go a little more into a species level and thinking about what is the trajectory that we want, that we need as a species. So these 4 layers, let me repeat them one more time. Maybe I can actually type them here. Individual, society. Of course, society is a plural notion and depends on what society you're thinking of. So that's fine. Species, planet. You can go beyond the planet. You can go into the cosmos. You can go into everything, consciousness. But we can stay for now within these 4 layers. Unless you need to, and then go ahead. Go to the conscious level, go to the awareness level, go beyond consciousness, go wherever you need to go, or wherever you need to be going. But these for sure are helpful, these 4 layers. And then, can we, Sutirto, thank you so much for your question. Sutirto is asking to everyone, can we have an abstract idea as an archetype, which I feel strongly about, but have not named yet? Thank you so much, Sutirto. I should have clarified this. I want you to be as clear as possible. So I want, of course, first an abstract idea, maybe the first minute. In the second minute, I want you to start to envision this idea to the T, in all the aspects, very clearly. So I want you to be able to see it, to draw it, to describe it, to name it. So I want, Sutirto, to be very specific. That's why probably if you're a philosopher, philosophers sometimes like to be in the abstract, but this is also a workshop that was done also specifically for artists. You don't need to be an artist as your job, but an artist of existence. So I'm going to ask you to be very specific, and artists need to be specific in order to manifest their work. Otherwise, it's just saying the air, and it doesn't manifest. So I want you to be, everyone, very specific with their archetypes. And actually, thank you so much, Sutirto. I should have clarified this. Let me give you one more second here. In fact, Sutirto was right. I forgot. The second part of the exercise is this, which we are going to do as we did in the first part. The second part is about naming your archetypes, creating new sounds, names, draw your archetypes, describe your archetypes. So, Sutirto, thank you so much. I should have clarified. So also this exercise is going to be divided in 2 parts. In the first part, you start to envision. And in the second part, you name it. You draw it. You see it. You are going to be very clear with the archetype. So let me stop sharing again. I'm going to give you 5 more seconds for anything that needs to be clarified. And then we go into the actual exercise. So 5 more seconds here. You're so welcome, Sutirto. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to guide you to the exercise now. I'm going to read it one more time for you, and then I'm going to give you 3 minutes of silence. Envision the posthuman existential archetype or archetypes you would like to be actualizing in your existence. Please feel free to embrace radical posthuman imagination. If possible, do not choose any well-known or known or already constructed archetypes, but create your own existential art. You can engage with posthumanist ontoethics, radical transhumanist bioembodiments, speculative technologies, and so on. So we're going to start with this part. Let's start with this. Let's start with this. Just make sure not to judge yourself in any way. And let's start with this. Let's start with the radical envisioning. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to ask you to go into deep radical imagination of archetypes that you want to see manifested. To these archetypes, you would say yes, an ontological yes. So please go into your radical imagination and see, and manifest, and experience. I'm going to mute myself and going to give you 3 minutes. I'm going to add a layer here. And I'm going to ask you why. Why that was your archetype? Why you would say yes to this archetype? An ontological yes. And how close or how far is this archetype to be actualized? How easy, how difficult, how, let's not use easy and difficult as term. How possible is this? And why is not right now? Or why is already possible? I want also to make sure that you are not judging yourself in any way, but I want to make sure that you look at the roots of this archetype before we name it. So after this, we're going to name the archetype. But first, I would like to say, why did you choose this specific archetype? Look at the roots of your choice. So why these specific archetypes out of the unlimited possibilities? Because we're talking here about radical posthuman imagination. So you could have chosen anything. Why this specific archetype? There might not be a reason, and that's absolutely fine as well. But I want you to give a space of silence, 30 seconds, to see if something comes to your mind. Maybe a specific need of yours as an expert in humanity. You've been here for decades. You know what it means to be human. So you know what we need to change, for instance. Or maybe a specific archetype that comes out of your understanding of existence. Why is the archetype that came to your mind, why is that specific archetype? Out of unlimited ones. Because this was an exercise in radical imagination. So I want you to just not go with your rational mind. I don't want you to start to ask yourself why they choose that. I just leave a space of silence and see if something come to the surface. See if there is something that come clearly as an answer to this question. But do not go there with your rational mind. If nothing comes to the surface, it's fine. Just let's give 30 seconds of silence to see if some reason come to you, but it's not you looking for the reason. So we go into silence with this question: why did I choose that specific archetype out of unlimited ones? So I'm going to give you 1 minute to do this. And let me just check in the chat if there is anything that, okay, fantastic. Oh, Denise, it's so great to see you. So everyone, 1 minute to look at the roots of your vision. And I'm going to give you the gong to just keep the sound going. Before we go to the last part of this exercise, I would like to mention that whatever reason came right now to your mind is something very deep that, you know, sometimes when people think, why am I here? Why am I existing? That is one of the reasons why you're here, to envision exactly what you need to be envisioning. And if something very clear came to you as an archetype, that is one of the reasons why you're here, to manifest a specific archetype that you are actualizing already through your radical imagination. So I want you, with this specific intentional approach, to go into the naming aspect of your archetype. There are going to be 2 minutes here to name your archetype, to describe your archetype. At this point, I would like to ask if it's possible to think in a way that you, again, are thinking of others. Let's say that you are going to the Museum of Existenz, that you tell them you want an exhibition now. You went to see the exhibition of this artist, it was your life, and now you're going to propose your exhibition, and your exhibition is this archetype that you are manifesting right now. You need to be clear what is that you're going to be representing in your soul exhibition. So you're going to name it. You might need sounds or movements. They don't have to be used in English or words or nothing like that. But you need to be specific, clear. Clarity doesn't mean a specific direction. As Nietzsche said, from the chaos, the dancing star is born. But you need to be able to share. So I'm going to be asking you to share. We're going to use the Jamboard in a second. First, just with yourself. So you are now sending the proposal to the Museum of Existenz, and you're going to be clear about the archetype that you are proposing. So just to be clear, we are talking about the posthuman archetype, and not the first one, not about your life. This is the second part of the exercise. Posthuman archetypes, you're going to name this archetype. You're going to describe this archetype. You're going to explain why this archetype is important, why maybe it's not just your ontological yes, maybe it should be all of us supporting this archetype. Why is that relevant? So I want you to be proud also of what you see. If you're not, that's fine too. You don't need to do this. Let's say that you realize that the archetype that you are seeing is actually not something that you are fully convinced. Then take a break, and then we're going to be back in 2 minutes for the second part. But if you saw something clearly, it's time now to name it. So just to be clear one more time, name your archetype, describe your archetype, draw your archetype, connect maybe your archetype to these 4 layers. If it was an individual archetype, now connected to the social aspect of it, to the species aspect of it, to the planetary aspect of it. And if it was a cosmic archetype, now connected to the micro. So the micro and the macro are always connected. Let me just to be clear here with the, let me just put it to the chat. Micro as macro. Macro as micro. So one more time, we are going to have 2 minutes left here, in which I'm going to ask you to describe clearly what you have seen, what you have manifested with your post-human archetype. So 2 minutes in your mind, and then I'm going to give you 1 minute to share in the Jamboard. So now just in your mind, see what comes as a clear description. You can take notes if you need to on paper or your computer, and then I'm going to be sharing. So for now, make sure that this is a clear archetype that you now can share with others. So if it's clear, we're going to go into this 2 minutes, starting now, 108. So now we are going to go into sharing mode. I want to just be very clear about how I want you to be sharing. Let me just go into the ethics of sharing for our meeting. And wait a second, I'll also share with you the, okay. So, okay, very important. I want you to make sure, as I mentioned before, that you only share what you are ready to share. So do not share what you are not ready to share. Also, another aspect of sharing is that I want you to understand that you are sharing with other people. I want you to honor your listeners and their integrity. So share only what is appropriate to share, what you're ready to share. Think of this as a constellation of vision. So it's not just at this point your individual vision, or it's not just a collective vision. We're not talking about a collective vision here, and we're not talking about an individual vision here. So we're kind of shifting paradigm. In the first part, it was you. Full radical imagination. You could go anywhere you wanted with your mind, with your thoughts, with your imagining. Now we're going to go into a different frame. Now we're going to be connecting with others, constellations. So here, I want to make sure that if something came to your mind that you don't think is appropriate for others, do not share that. If something came to your mind that you are not ready to share with others because maybe it's very private, do not share that. So make sure that you understand that you are no longer just you. You are now part of a constellation. Your integrity is also fully respected. In fact, we are not talking here about a collective approach. We are into a pluralistic approach in which I recognize you as fully ontological existing apart from me, but also connecting to me. So I'm not asking you to just blend into the melting pot. There is no melting pot here. Now, even in America, they're using different metaphors, like the salad, because the salad keep all the different vegetables intact. So we're not talking about you two having to change your vision because now you are connected with others. Not that. I'm asking you to make sure that of all that came, that was in your radical imagination, you have fully freedom on that. Now understand that you are now creating a constellation with others honor their visions, honor their integrity. So do not share things that are not appropriate to share with others, that are for you, and do not share things that are for you to go back because they are your own private aspects. So I want to be very clear about how I would like you to be sharing with others. So I also, before we go into the groups, we are going to take 2 to 3 minutes to use the board. I know that it was a lot of fun for everyone the other day. I also had a lot of fun. So what we're going to do is, there are 2 parts in which you can share. So let me just clarify. Here, okay, sorry, part 1. After part 1, you have this section in yellow. This one is about your individual exhibition. So here, I'm going to ask you to share, if you want. You don't have to do this, but if you want, I'm going to I'm going to ask you to share with us now, in the next minute, a term, a sound, a sentence, something that can describe the way you summarized your own experience at the solo exhibition of yourself at the Museum of Existence, the first part of the workshop. So here, whatever stayed with you, maybe it's a term, maybe it's a sound, whatever it is. So we're not in the second part, the first part. I'm going to ask you to summarize your experience at the Museum of Existence when you went to see your own solo exhibition. So it can be a term, an adjective, a drawing, whatever it is. And again, you don't need to do it. And then after this first minute doing here, we go into the second part, and I'm going just to show you briefly. And then we're going to part 2, and here, the part in green, I'm going to ask you to name your posthuman archetypes. Again, another minute to do that. After that, we are going to go into the breakout rooms. Okay? So just to be clear, everyone, I did share the gem board, so make sure that you can have access to it. If for any reason someone cannot have access to it, you can write in your chat your description, and myself or Sepide can copy and paste to the gem board. So everyone is represented here. So everyone, let's take now 1 minute. We are in this empty page. There is the yellow stick here, stick note, and we are going to share something. In this was the sharing part about your experience at the exhibition of your own life. Only if you feel like doing this. If you don't want to share, do not share. So we can start. We're going to have 1 minute to add whatever we want to add to the gem board. And I'm also to share something myself. So I'm going to start reading some of the terms that comes to us. I see a lot of movements. I had the same experience. I also saw movements very clearly and sounds. So it's very interesting that a lot of the things that I see here were also my experience. It's very interesting when we talk about being human or being or existing, because on some level we are this unique work of art, but then we share so much about the experience, but we often don't talk about it. And it's very interesting that when we did the exercise, I see the results of what I experienced through what you're doing right now. So very, very interesting. So I'm just going to go through some sounds and some movements, and I can only move here because that's what's happening. An explorer, builder, chemist, sounds, bridge, yo, 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 yeldy, big, small, small, big noise, wounds, radiating deep, immense, in betweenness, not only between two things, in between multiple things or states, beings, radiating osmotic interdimensional sun. Consciousness, bzzz, movement. I saw a pearl inside the heart, reborn, an impact of a blown air, which is like a silent whistle. And then all the colors that I'm seeing right now, feeling the boards, a lot of movement, and we should be dancing, but it's hard because we have a screen in front of us, but it looked like a dance, a cosmic dance. That's interesting. In many mythologies, dance, the cosmic dance, think of Shiva, for instance. And beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I'm going to give an extra 30 seconds to enjoy this experience that is so connected, because there are so many aspects that are have been experienced by all of us at the exhibition of our own life. So I'm going to give 30 more seconds of silence and experiencing this. So now you are at the Museum of Existence, and you're just experiencing, enjoying this exhibition. So just now, be part of the board, enjoy the board, and then we're going to go to the next part. So right now, let's give 1 minute, being at the museum and enjoying. This is the work of art that we came to see. This is the art. So let's take 30 seconds to enjoy this. My name is me, a microsatellite organic. The sponge, the medium, the star, the performer, pacemaker, the stack. Now we can go to the next part, in which you can go on here if you still feel like you need to share here. Please go on. I'm going to, and you can also exceed the board. Yes, you can actually draw also in different parts. Smell of cedar, grove, in summer, self-inquiry. And we're going to go, so stay here if you need to stay here. In the meantime, we can also go to, beautifully goes on, to the second part about our posthuman archetypes. Now here, I'm going to ask you to please share your posthuman archetypes. You can, again, have sounds, names, descriptions. If you drew something, if you don't mind maybe taking a picture and sharing to the screen, you can add an image here and this add image. So yes, please, now is time for sharing your posthuman archetypes. And it can be done in any way you want. Also be done through a description, or school, whatever works for you. So if it's a sound, you can also record your voice and add it as a file. So whatever works for you, please now share. If you want, you don't have to do it, but if you want, please share your posthuman archetypes. We're going to take 1 to 2 minutes to share our archetypes. I also would like to ask, maybe to make sure that when you're adding your notes, to make sure not to cover others, because I want to make sure that this is, I know that it's a lot of us and it's hard, but maybe make it a little smaller so that we can actually have access to all the archetypes. In fact, this is again part of the exhibition. This is at the Museum of Existence, Posthuman Archetypes. So make sure that all the messages and writings are visible and are recognizing, honoring the other people's vision. So we share our vision, we make sure that we honor other people's vision. So make sure that if your vision is covering others, just make it maybe a little smaller and move it somewhere else, okay? So I am aware that it's a small board, I'm aware of that. I'm going to be starting reading some of the archetypes, and then I'm going to give, you can go on working on the board, and then I'm going to give you 30 seconds for merging in these archetypes. Drawn sound, burden to be connected with a continuum of sound, to resonate differently with other pitches, to give space to others to resonate as well. Hybrids, tiktaalik, azok, swamp, creatures, flying fishes, human social transformation, post-shaman. I go through reality, crossing time and space, exploring the order and movement of the energy, transiting everyday life. Akinetophonia, light, movement, and sound. Be as it. You are right, part of a whole, but separate. Hive mind, escape from self to different subjectivities for a more comprehensive understanding through any possible means. In betweenness, not only between two things, in between multiple things or states being. The transceiver, soul, solar nature in interdimensionality. Radical, empathic space shifter in shamanism has this practice of embodying different species like the owl, snake, and eagle, for example. This archetype is essential to dissolve the rigid constructs of identity, stereotypes. This archetype is also important to dissolve discrimination. Bodies of water, liquid societies, liquid beings interacting freely, no need for dichotomies there. Sila from Inuit word for climate in energy, breath, breaking rules and prejudices, stereotypes. Cosmogony in suffering, breathing new life into non-human objects, build worlds. The wave, it can wash over anything and incorporate, process it. Metamorphosing migrants. Abstract. Hapa, mother, father, parent, eye of intersection of light, information, quantum computing. Now, I'm going to ask you to take a full minute to deeply enjoy the exhibition. If you want to keep writing on the board, you can do it. But I'm going to ask you to please check the notes, read the other notes, look at the amazing visual works that people have been sharing with us. So let's honor everyone's vision. Let's take 1 minute to get deeply merged into the board, into the Museum of Existence, into our posthuman archetype. 1 minute. Thank you so much for being so generous in sharing your beautiful, powerful visions. So what we're going to do now is going into groups. So I'm going to share you one more time. You can go on here if you need to go on with the board. We may also include some of these into our online exhibition. We're going to talk about it next week more clearly. We are working on it with Sepide. So if you need to add more, please go on. But in the meantime, I also want to clarify a little bit the fact that we're going into sharing. So as I mentioned, for the board, but now even more into groups, only share what you want to share, what you are ready to share. Do not share what you do not want to share and what you are not ready to share. Furthermore, as I mentioned, we are now moving to the constellations. So I want to make sure that you are honoring and respecting other people's integrity. So please make sure to share only what is appropriate to share, and make sure to keep track of time. Because if someone speaks for 4 minutes, the other 3 people will have no time to share their own vision. So there is going to be 1 or 2 persons in each group who are the timekeepers. They're going to check the time and say 1 minute each. One person exceeds the minute, say you have 5 seconds more, but we really need to move on because we need to listen to everyone. So everyone, please make sure that you honor 1 minute. It's 60 seconds is a lot. You can change your own life. You can change existence in 60 seconds. So you have 60 seconds to share. What are you sharing? You can, I would say probably, you can choose what you share, but I would say probably the posthuman archetype can be very interesting. So if you need to share what happened at the Soul exhibition, you can do that as well. But it could be very interesting for the others also to go into the posthuman archetypes more clearly. So you're going to share with them your posthuman archetype, which of course can also be connected to your the first part of the exercise. So let's going to be read here. Keep track of time. We are going to have 4 minutes, 1 minute for each person. In all together, we're going to have 10 minutes for this exercise. In the second part of the form, after each of you has presented, that's why we have to be very good at keeping track, 1 minute each, that's it. In the second part, after the 4 minutes, you're going to have 4 minutes to connect your posthuman archetypes as constellations, not as a melting pot. So you do not need to change your archetype in order to make it acceptable to others, but you need to bridge it. See the difference here? In a salad, you have the tomato, you have the carrot, you have blueberries, whatever you want to put, and you have a dressing that connects everything. So here you need to do similar process. You need to bridge your posthuman archetypes. You do not need to change them. This is not a melting pot. You're not putting all the ingredients and then there is a soup coming out of it. No melting pot, salad. You are going to respect your vision. This is not a collective art. Collective is beautiful too, but it's a different exercise. We're not going into a collective art. It's not a collective art. This is a pluralistic work of art. So we're going to respect your vision and now connecting to the other, like the sky. All the beautiful stars are there, but you're looking at the sky and the sky is the sky. So we are working now to create the sky to connect all these stars that are your visions. So you're going to connect with your group, your posthuman archetype. How are they connected? Maybe they are connected because you are all rethinking maybe about re-envisioning the human, for instance. Or how are they connected? This is a great also exercise to learn how to bridge things. That's the most important thing you can learn in your life, by the way. So again, you're going to explain your vision, 1 minute each. The next 4 minutes, you're going to work together to bridge them. If someone is talking too much, it's beautiful, thanks so much. But if there is someone else who says, let's make sure that all the voices are heard. This is not, we're not going into democratic approach. It's not one talking for everyone. We're going into if you want, direct democracy in which everyone is heard. So everyone is working together to bridge their vision to the others. You can create maybe like a Jamboard for you as a group if you need to. And then you're going to have 2 minutes to address whatever still need to be addressed and summarize your constellation. So you're now becoming a constellation as a group. And in those 2 minutes left, you're going to summarize in a very short sticky note or very short description, because in fact, we're going to have a couple of minutes at the end for every group to share with others. Every group is going to have 1 minute to share their visions. So now we're going to go into groups. So I'm going to stop sharing here. Just to be clear, you're going to find yourself in a group of 4 people. If someone doesn't show up, sometimes people maybe have to go to the restroom, it's fine. There may be 3 of us. Whoever is there with you is there with you. There should be no less than 3 though. I want to have definitely no less than 3 people. If that's the case, let us know. You write us as a chat. So you're going to have, you find yourself in a group of 4 people or most likely 4 people. Each of you is going to be sharing their posthuman archetype in 1 minute. So altogether 4 minutes. Then in 4 minutes, you connect the dots, you connect the archetypes. How are all these archetypes connected? There are always ways to connect. It's actually very hard to find ways to disconnect because everything at the end is connected, given the fact that we're all part of this dimension. So there are always ways to connect. So connect your archetypes, create your constellation, and then in the last 2 minutes, you share your constellation. You share your constellation here. Let me just show everyone briefly. Share screen again. Share. So we are here. In the next one here, it's blue. Okay, we were here before. Okay, now you go on. 10 group archetype constellation. You move on. Blue archetype constellation. Please share here, and we are going to share a sticky note or whatever, a drawing, whatever, and then you're also going to have 1 minute as groups to share to everyone else. So if is everything clear what you're going to be doing now? Let me just double check. Okay, how are the groups created? So they are going to be random. The random side of existence is a real thing too. So it's going to be Zoom randomly connecting people. So that's also a beautiful exercise because you don't know who you're going to be finding in your groups, and you're going to be working in bridging whatever visions are there. So we are going to be, Sepide now are going to be creating the breakout rooms. Please, I just want to have a reaction from all of you that you know what is going to be happening and you're okay with it. Can you give me a reaction? The little face at the bottom, Zoom, the last one on the right. Oh yes, you can also do it physically like Alidante just did. Yes, otherwise, please, everyone, a reaction. Thank you also, yeah, okay, thank you, Anna also, Sutirto. Fantastic.
So I made 6 breakout rooms right now.
Fantastic, Sepide, thank you so much.
Sure.
So if everyone is ready, you're going to go, it's 1:40, you are going to have 10 minutes to do what we have been talking about. Start now, enjoy. Thank you so much, everyone, for your generosity in sharing your visions with others. So what we're going to do, we need to be really, really, really tight on time because I promised everyone that we would not exceed 5 minutes after the time that we have, which is in my time based in New York City, 12 to 2 p.m. and it's 1:55. So we have 5 minutes left, but we can go maybe for another extra 2-3 minutes after. So we have 8 groups. Each group has literally 1 minute to share. So I'm not going to read what's written in the constellation of archetypes in the gem board. I'm going to ask each group to summarize in 1 minute to everyone else. We're going to start with group number 1, Bouquet, Fanny's, and Kat. One person, maybe if you don't mind sharing the constellation of your archetypes.
Okay, I can say if everyone's okay. Fanny's, Kat. So our group, yeah, we had our constellation as waves of things expanding from one point and like getting together inside different things and having some connections on the way, but also always expanding. So like this. And yeah, we had a drawing on the Jamboard, and yeah, I think this was the connection point of our different archetypes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Buket. So in your case, your group was the one drawing, and the message was the interconnection of the material aspect of existence. Is that correct? Something that would be the drawing? It would be your group. Fantastic.
Yeah, and it was more about the momentum and moving and expanding.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting. Movement came a lot in this. Thank you so much. Yeah, movement is definitely something that came very clearly. Fantastic. Thanks so much, group number 1. Group number 2, Gagan, Herman, Rodrigo, and Tara. And
go ahead if you're so kind.
Rodrigo, awesome, you made it. So good to see you. So yes, Rodrigo, share with us.
Yeah, Francesca. I think the word that we had in mind was technology. And it was kind of difficult because we were from very different places, and to communicate was a kind of hard stuff. But we discussed about technology, and we were thinking and reflection about if technology is a kind of expand, a way of expand our reality, our world, and our possibilities. I summarized that discussion.
Fantastic. Yeah, very interesting. It sounds like technology of existence on some level. Excellent, excellent.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, group number 2. Thank you so much, Rodrigo, for clarifying. And just to know, did you share in the, is your group, did you have the chance to share on the board or not yet? Otherwise, you can just add technology maybe as something that will be connecting if we are working again next week with the groups. Fantastic. And then group number 3, Margaret, MK, Rodrigo, and Shom.
So I can say a few words, yeah? Okay, yes, so we explore the concept of interdimensionality. So Margaret came up with a solar nature in interdimensionality. I came with a transceiver, the transmitter receiver, and MK with the in-betweenness concept. So this has to do with communicating at different levels of different dimensions, physical dimensions, spiritual dimensions through vibratory schemes, and what lies in between these connections. And this is what we grasp between the 3 of us in this interdimensionality concept.
Fantastic. And you're right. I saw a lot of the interdimensionality coming in all the Jamboards. So it's great that your group really focused on that. And I think you did share on the Jamboard. Is that right? Otherwise, please do. Yeah, I saw that. Fantastic.
There are 3 of them.
Excellent. Thank you so much, this group as well. Next group, Abner, Magda, Sutirto, and user Alidonto.
Hi there. We had a nice connection in terms of like the continuous line and the evolution of non-human bodies and also extensions of the mind coming out into various different avatars and how they would appropriate themselves into, you know, virtual worlds, physical worlds, but also able to switch between being organic and inorganic as well. So there's this kind of really connection of continuous line. So it's an evolution, you know, so this is kind of what we kind of explored within that context.
Fantastic. And I think you did share on the Jamboard. Is that right? I think I saw that. But if you didn't, just make sure to add that. That's very clear also your vision, and that's excellent. Thank you so much, this group as well. Fantastic. Next group, Emily, Koshik, Kimete, and Soamdeep.
Yes, I can share. We had 3 people sharing archetypes. The first being be as it representing all things material, living, non-living. Sila, from the Inuit word for energy, climate, and breath. And finally, diversity. And our salad dressing was new materialism that brought everything together, recognizing agency and affect of all things.
Fantastic, excellent. And you look like the constellations are also related. It's very connected what you said to just what also Halidon mentioned. Excellent. Thank you so much, this group as well. Beautiful work. And we go to the next one, Ankita, artist, and Jarek. And any one of you can share. And artist will be Tiny Domingos.
Oh, yes. So okay, it's my turn. So we spoke about hybridity and longing. So I spoke about swamp creatures from the mangrove in the frontier of land and water. And they are longing for a flower or a pearl. So they are migrating and metamorphosing. The pearl is a symbol also for, and the flower for emotions and desires.
Beautiful, fantastic. I think you did share, but if you didn't, make sure to share.
I did. We did.
Yes, I read it before. And the metamorphosis, yeah, is a wonderful notion. I like the connection with the swamp and the pearl. Thank you so much. Excellent work. And we're going to go to the next group with Anna, Denisa, and Stella. Anyone can share if you want, Anna or Denise or Stella, anyone.
Hi, is there a Stella there? I don't know. If not, I can do it.
Hey, I'm also here, yeah.
Go
you
for
can
it.
go for it, Anna. You can go for it if you want.
Well, Stella wrote it in the Jamboard. We talked about 3 concepts. The merging is the blissful shape-shifting water drone. It's like new forms of nonverbal communication and being, and resonating both and giving space to others, for others, and permanently transitioning from one form to another. It's like a merging between the states of bliss plus the drone sound, the resonating mode, and the shamanistic ability to transform permanently to other forms of being. Yeah, I think I tried to resume that.
Excellent. Liquid transformation, water, breeze, beautiful. Thank you so much, this group as well, which is also connected to all the other visions that has come before you. It's excellent. And then group number 9, Mafe, Otimaja, and Priyanka.
We share the concepts of consciousness and nature. Outmaja is a postmodern fairy, and she's working in the integration of consciousness and nature. Priyanka is increasing the level of consciousness, working with computing and triangles, genetic information metabolism. And I'm a post-shaman. I work also in consciousness enhancement, and I'm exploring the order and movement of the energy transiting everyday life.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Mafe. Thank you so much, this group as well. Very, very interesting how all the visions are here connected. I see a lot of terms that keep coming back, shamanism and transformation, and very interesting. So I want to say something, and then we're going to say goodbye for now, and then meet the last time next Saturday. I would like to say that it's very interesting what happened here, because it really shows the collective conscious. And probably a lot of you have heard about the collective unconscious, but I don't think that there is such thing as unconscious. I think there is all form of like what you're talking about, this ontological intradimensionality and ontological intraconnection doesn't really allow for space of unawareness. And I think it's very interesting that we started from the self, from the exhibition of our own life, to posthuman archetypes, to constellations, to existence. And we see that, yes, all these visions are very unique and they are their own work of art, but they're so connected. And even in the terms that I see of you sharing, I saw myself. I saw some of the sounds even that some of you wrote were sounds that came to my own exercise when I was thinking how to describe, for instance, my own experience of my own soul exhibition. So what I want to say here is that it's very interesting how these levels that are often separated, which is the individual, society, species, planet, and beyond. I think that most of you are also interested in really talking about, the whole ontological realm, are deeply intraconnected, and that's when we realize our full ontological power of manifestation. So I would like to thank you so much, everyone, for being so generous, so kind, to be sharing about you, about your vision, because you are me, and me, I'm you, and we're connected. But again, this is not a collective soup, you know, this is a recognition of diversity and unity and diversity at the same time. One and two are not separated. They don't have to be separated. So I want to thank you so much. We are exceeding the time that I promised we would be ending. I promised 2:05 last week, and now it's just 2:06. So I want to be faithful to my own words. So I'm going to see you all next Saturday. If you cannot do it, it's okay. We are still going to be connected in many other ways. And we're going next Saturday to go with the visions of the artist. I know that also some of you are asked to also be part of the more active group of artists. You can still do it. You can write to Sepide and myself. And we're going to talk next week about also the virtual exhibition that we're going to be creating all together. So thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to send the assignments to the people who are more involved. And if you also want to do them, let us know. And you have a wonderful day. And thank you so much for your presence and for your kindness. And thank you so much, Sepide, for organizing this and to envision this series of workshops together. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. And we see you 1 week from now.
Bye. Ciao, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Grazie mille.
Grazie mille.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you so much.